Podcast.
Not anymore. I'm fucking back. I made it back. Well, that's rough, Jared. That's rough. But it is episode 65 of Tell It Right podcast. I'm Mike.
65, look alive.
65, look alive. I'm Mike. That's Jared, as always. We got a full moon night tonight, which means today's episode will be dedicated to the weird, the bizarre, and the esoteric, and whatever else you can think of that's just fucked up in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty excited about that. Pretty excited about that. Does like 2/24/24, like that's today's date, like does that have anything to do with anything? Like I wonder if that's like a Mayan calendar, like, you know what I mean, like 12/12/12 or whatever. You know, like 20, you know, like 10 years ago, sort of shit. Yeah, but no, whatever. But before we get into the weird shit tonight, I did want to point out that on www.tellitrightpodcast.com, we've been making some updates there. Been adding some new content. We're gonna get the Fan Expo 2023 pictures up there soon and get that finished. I know we're pretty much a year late on that, but whatever. Fuck off. Coming soon, we'll have C2E2 2024, so we'll be going to that. We'll get those pictures up there and whatever other content we can grab. I did post actually on the website when I went into the Tom Wilson talk. The fucker was playing ukulele. It was the greatest. I'm glad I walked in on that. I got that on camera, so that's up on the website. I just put that up there. And then just before we started recording here, Jared and I recorded a table read from the TV show Community, the episode Cooperative Polygraph from season 5. So we'll have that up there on TellItRightPodcast as well.com. That was actually pretty funny what we just fucking did just now, and I'm going to tell you what, it's one of our finer times in life here, guys. So you definitely want to check that out. So hit up TellItRightPodcast.com.
You know, I think we really missed out on an opportunity at Fan Expo because all those people, because of the strike, were doing all these weird things on the side. And like when we walked in there and Peter Weller was talking about like the history of acting and like going back to like during World War II and stuff like that. Like
thought I recorded his shit, but I can't find it anywhere. I'm like fucking pissed. Yeah, dude, Peter Weller was a gold mine. Like that fucking right there. Like when we were in there, I'm just like, I looked at you. I'm like, what's going on right now? Like, this guy is talking about Nazis. He's talking about Jews. He's talking about fucking making films and shit. Like, I lost track pretty fucking easy. And I hear he is not a fine person to work with either. Like,
really?
Yeah, I guess Bobby Lee. Well, it's Bobby Lee, right? No, I love Bobby Lee. I think he's funny. But, He did was it Magnum PI? They've redone that show within recent years. I guess he went out to Hawaii to shoot some things, and Peter Weller was pretty fucking harsh on him, I guess. So,
well,
just yelling at him. Yeah,
Bobby Lee's not an actor; he's a comedian. You know, and from listening to the way that Peter Weller was talking.
Yeah, he's like Harvard.
He is a classical fucking.
He's like Harvard versus state school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like state school, you're like, yeah, you're kind of intelligent, but like Harvard, like you're ritzy ditzy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the way. It's funny because you look at actors, and like comedy actors and comedians and like even So, as an example, like you've always mentioned it with Patrick Stewart, how he came into the Star Trek and he was like, "Oh, this is just a fucking, the stage."
Right. That wasn't at first though. It took him a year to figure that out. But like, yeah, because what's his face? Magneto was like, bro, you don't want to get into this. You got a good thing going with fucking theater. Like, stay the fuck away out of like Star Trek. Like, why would you want to do that? And Stewart's like, listen, bro, Magneto, I can't. I'm just gonna Professor Xavier it, and I'm just gonna fucking do it, And so he did it, and then like he was thinking about quitting. He was thinking like Magneto was right. Like Magneto was just kind of like fucking getting in his head, right? Yeah. And then like he just sat there. He looked at the bridge, at the set, and he's like, "No, this is the Shakespearean stage. This is fucking it right here." And that's and I'm glad he saw that, because he could have quit and you would have never got the Next Generation. You would have just had a fucking William Riker without a fucking beard and like looking like a weird goof. Yeah. I would say the best thing that ever happened for Jonathan Frakes was he grew that fucking beard. And he was also from the theater too. Like everybody was from the theater. Like they made something gret. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I honestly feel like, so actors that were classically trained, like let's say pre 90s, people that were classically trained before the 90s happened, were just better actors. So like when they would get into these roles that that were so nerdy and sci-fi. So like you got Patrick Stewart. I mean, he's been in tons of sci-fi shit. I mean, ever since Star Trek, he's Professor X, and
he was the best fucking character for Professor X, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have like Sir Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan in the original Star Wars. He was a classically trained actor, and you could just tell, like, by the way that they act in the movie.
Force, Force, oh yeah, it definitely cures Down syndrome. I should know.
or probably the best one, like Christopher Lee, who played Count Dooku. The man's accredited with more movies than anybody else.
Wait, his name's Christopher Lee?
Yeah, plays Count Dooku.
Holy shit! I didn't know his name was Christopher Lee.
Yeah, he's accredited with more like acting in like movies and plays and all this than any other actor. Like he's upwards of like 200 and something that he's actually, like, his name is it.
Yeah, this is,
and he's
classically
Ryan, trained.
You know what, Ryan Reynolds? You can learn something from this. You could be fucking doing this kind of shit and be a respected actor instead of some money grubbing whore that's just buying up everything. I said my piece. Move on.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that, like, not that actors aren't going to classes. Like, if you're in a movie, you've gone to some kind of acting classes or acting school of some sorts, right? Like even James Franco was James Franco was like banging students, and he was a teacher at an acting school.
I wonder if he was ever considered. I wonder if he was ever considered a professor. Professor Franco.
Yeah, who knows? But either way, I mean, they're being trained, but they're being trained by people that suck. You know what I mean? Like, not that James Franco sucks, but I feel like a lot of actors that play parts are kind of like that in real life.
Yeah.
Like the parts that they're playing, they're really not changing who they are. Like, maybe,
like Charlie
There's
Sheen.
a fine line.
Sheen.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen. But
Charlie Sheen, yeah.
So, like, you go to, like, you watching, and I know I'm using James Franco again, because I feel like he's, like, kind of that epitome of, he really hasn't changed characters, ever. But, same thing with, like, Seth Rogen. He just plays, like, a stupid high asshole, like, in all the movies. But you look at somebody like, like
Leo
DiCaprio.
Leo
Yeah.
Leo baby
Leo. He plays parts. He plays characters. He's probably a fucking asshole in real life.
No, you know who I think's a good example is Nicolas Cage.
He plays the same part in every movie.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't change anything about himself.
Yeah, but you know what? He doesn't do it. Or no, okay, I'm sorry. Let's take it back. Let's go like Keanu. What about Keanu? What do you think about Keanu? I guess, yeah, he does.
The problem
you know what? He
Keanu
takes care
is that he was cast as like he's put into parts
as an autistic Native American.
Something. I think that's kind of a bad example. I mean, I like Keanu Reeves. I think
he takes care of his own.
He grew, and he's actually like, from what I read, he's a super nice guy. Like,
he is, yeah. Person. Oh my God! If you worked for him and you said like I needed $20,000, he'd put it in your account.
Yeah,
no questions asked. You just do it.
I feel like he's, you go from Point Break.
Well,
some of his earlier movies, and then you move on to where he's come from and what he does now. And he went from that surfer, like, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, like nerdy, like surfer dude.
Yeah.
To John Wick, and he's a fucking badass. Like, if you say the name John Wick, you're like, oh, he's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's Keanu Reeves. Like, he's not, you don't see, if somebody looks at Keanu Reeves now, they don't see that nerdy, like, fucking stoner surfer dude. They see fucking John Wick. So I think his career has developed him, and I mean, he's made the right choices. I mean,
he's immortal, so
to play.
He knew what he was doing when he got into it. He's like, all right, I'm going to play the fucking nerdy surfer. I might do a cop role that diffuses bombs every now and then.
I love Speed, man.
Yeah, Speed's a great movie. It is.
Fucking movie. Plus, Sandra Bullock's pretty hot.
Who is, fucking, didn't, dude from Dumb and Dumber play in that? That was his,
Jeff Bridges? No, not Jeff Bridges.
No, Jeff, Jeff. We know who he is. It's Dumb and Dumber Jeff. You know who he is. He's Jeff from Dumb and Dumber. No, yeah, Speed was a great movie. Who was, was it? No, it wasn't Anthony Hopkins. It was, I wanted to say Anthony Hopkins too, but it's not.
But he's fucking Silence of the Lambs.
And I want to keep saying Dustin Hoffman, but it's not fucking Dustin Hoffman at all. No.
Definitely Kmart. It's a Speed cast.
It's Dennis Hopper. Oh my God, Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Fucking Dennis Hopper, dude. That was so sad when he died. It was the worst.
Jeff Daniels.
Nobody cares about him. No, we love him. Alan Ruck played in that movie? No shit. And Beth. Oh yeah, no, Beth Grant. Yeah, we talked about that when we watched Willy's Wonderland.
Joe Morton. Joe Morton is the guy from Terminator 2 that plays Miles Davis.
Yes.
Or Miles Branson or whatever.
Joe Morton also plays in a show that I really love that was on Sci-Fi called Eureka. He was this really smart scientist.
The Urethra?
Eureka.
Oh.
I think Archimedes said Eureka. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I don't either. But, yeah, that's for sure. So.
Well, now that we've gone completely off topic.
Let's get back to the conspiracy night. Back to conspiracy night.
So we can tie this. Let me kick it off. So there's this conspiracy going around that Jimi Hendrix and Morgan Freeman are the same person.
That sounds fucking retarded.
It does sound retarded. Right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of similarities between the two, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of like the conspiracy thing. The claim is that Jimi Hendrix reinvented himself as an actor after faking his own death, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: when you look at the two in pictures next to each other, like, you could always you could sound really racist and say that all black people look the same, just like people say all Chinese.
That's what this is sounding like right now. Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that happened and are kind of congruent with time frame. So Jimi Hendrix died in 1970, right?
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman made his first film debut in 1971. So a year later, after he died, that's first thing, right? They both have military backgrounds. They both served. And
wait, really? Jimi Hendrix served? I believe Morgan Freeman did, but Jimi Hendrix served in the military?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Like, if you look at them, too, like, their military photos, like, they look like the same person.
Yeah.
Like, I'll send you this info. You can, put it up on the site. I
was looking, I pulled up some pictures here. I mean, like, to me, like, I see some differences for sure. I mean, their noses, what's interesting is their noses look very similar, okay? Mm-hmm. But there's something about the eyes that, like, I can tell, like, in my personal opinion, like, that separates them.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting, though, that he died in 1970, and then all of a sudden, Morgan Freeman just comes out of nowhere in 71.
Yeah.
And but I didn't know that Jimi Hendrix served in the military. That's interesting.
Well, just like Elvis was in the military too. Like,
well, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if Jimi Hendrix had anything to do with some of that. What do you call it? Like the research into the what the fuck's it called? Where? Oh God, I got a mind blank here. No, it's use telekinetics, right? Or telekinesis, or not kinesis, but telepathy. And it was like that super soldier program that was going on, where they were trying to find like Russian. The Russians were doing it, so the United States tried doing it. I forget what they call it. It's
what if it's like the Manchurian Candidate thing, like where Jimi Hendrix was in the military and this and that, and then they rewired his brain, pretended he died, and then he became a famous actor.
It could be.
I mean, I'm just.
No.
Like,
I mean, like,
crazy, but I mean, there's a lot of coincidences that and most people would say that's a pretty crazy coincidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. Remote viewing, that's what it's called. Remote viewing. So basically, the United States government had a program where they were putting funding into training people to be able to use psychological powers or psychic powers. So basically, it was more like recon, intelligence shit.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman's wife, Jimi Hendrix's wife.
Are you sharing a screen right now? Yeah, I see it now.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so they were both white.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but I mean, when you really look at it, I mean,
I just hate how they're showing pictures.
Look the same. The way their eye shape is kind of the same. I mean, yes, you can take pictures
but you're looking at, this is what I don't like about everything that I've seen in that way that you're pulling up right now, is they're showing an older picture of Morgan Freeman and not necessarily.
Here's here's Jimi Hendrix in the military. Here's Morgan Freeman in the military.
But
those look like the same goddamn person. Their eye shape, their mouths.
I'm telling you, I know what you're. Yeah, they kind of do, but like I'm still seeing a slight.
Look at
difference.
this picture and look at this picture. Yes, there's slight differences.
All right, here's the thing about Morgan Freeman. He looks like he's fucking Chinese somehow. I don't know how to fucking put it.
I get
and Jimi Hendrix, I don't see that Chinese look in him. I don't know. That's just me though.
I mean, maybe they threw him. Maybe the whole thing is Jimi Hendrix looked like this. He was in. They captured him. They put him through hell, and then a year later, they just rewired his brain, and he looks a little older, and he didn't have a British accent.
Jimi Hendrix from Britain?
No, but he died in Britain, I think.
No, I know. Yeah, he died in London. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he wasn't British. I don't.
You know, so you said you wanted to talk about this tonight, and I was like, kind of like looking up other conspiracies around Jimi Hendrix, and I just wanted to bring this up. Do you ever remember like growing up and like, you know, smoking weed with kids, and like they'd be like, you can't have a fucking white lighter, it's bad luck or something. Did you ever hear that? Was that ever a thing?
That was never a thing where I was from.
All right, so it was a thing where I was from, and like I never gave two shits about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I like read into it, and like the Snopes on it was just like, well, Bic lighters weren't even invented until like 1973, so that like throws out like, because they were trying to say like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and then like Kurt Cobain all had white Bics in their fucking pockets. Oh, Jim Morrison too. All had white Bics in their pockets when they died.
Yeah, and you know why that is? Because they put the labels on those Bics, and you'd peel the labels away, and it would be a white Bic underneath it. Remember?
Well,
they used to have the wrap around it.
Well, they still do that. They still do that. Yeah. Well, somebody made a more realistic thing is, well, you're smoking weed, you're always packing the fucking bowl with your lighter when it's lit hot. You don't use your fingers.
Yeah.
So, like, all that resin gets stuck to the bottom of the lighter, and then the cops would just, when they were trying to bust you, that's how they busted you. They would look at, you know, they would see you had a lighter, and then they would see that you had all this fucking residue on it, so it just pretty much meant you were fucking smoking weed.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
But, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about fucking.
It's probably far fetched, but I mean, yeah. I think it's an interesting concept.
It is.
I mean, it's when you really look. I mean, looking at them, they do look. They look very similar when they were younger.
They do, yeah.
And there's a lot of coincidences that happen. Do I believe it? I think it's a stretch, but
yeah.
You know, who the fuck knows? You know, maybe they pulled it off. Just like, have you ever heard of like how they replaced fucking what's his face from the Beatles? Like they say he died in a car accident and he was replaced.
Oh, Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
that's a fucking weird one too. Like when you look at it on paper, it's a pretty fucked up thing.
But then, like, you think about it, it's just like, yeah, I get that they're famous, but, like, why is it worth all that trouble? You know, I guess.
Money, man, money.
But, like, when that all went down, was it still, like, was the money
Beatles were actually still there? Like,
I know that there was money being made, but did, like, somebody actually, like, think to themselves, like, oh, if we just replace them, we, you know, I mean,
so think of it like this, like, because they just said the same shit about, what's that one singer girl? The more recent,
Taylor Swift.
Fuck, not Taylor Swift.
Billie Eilish.
No, she used to be popular with us, and now she made a comeback. She doesn't have cum on her back. I'm just saying she made a comeback.
Hold
on, I'm gonna.
Ginger Spice?
Avril Lavigne.
Oh, she's got cum on her back. What are you?
Well, I mean, that's for sure. But I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
There's a theory that she died and they replaced her. But
no, this is getting out of hand.
But think of this. Okay, so let's just take this.
Yeah.
Last thing on it. Let's say Taylor Swift died in a car accident or a plane crash. She's on her private jet.
Yeah, Kelsey would have a clone already ready to go.
100%. Like either there's going to be a clone, which there's probably people have been cloned. I think there's like some underground shit because they cloned a fucking goat. Like they've cloned people. I'm sorry. They have like maybe it wasn't the U.S. that did it because we've got morals, like we've got whatever.
Cloned a goat.
I shouldn't say that. It's probably the U.S.
It's the U.S.
out there. Yeah, it's the U.S. operating in a different country. Right, and they're cloning people. They're in the Wuhan lab, fucking making people and cloning them.
Yeah, they're making.
But if Taylor Swift were to die, she would have a clone the next day, or somebody replacing her that looked 100% like her. It's some doppelganger. That was Taylor Swift.
Maybe the fucking island exists. Think about it. I
think if you're rich enough, you could have a clone.
That's what I'm saying. Like the island exists. Like Bono is fucking like running an island right now, and like he's got clones. Well, no, you remember the movie The Island, right? With Ewan McGregor. Yeah, Bono was the guy that ran everything. That's what I'm saying. Like Bono's got an island. He's got like fucking clones that he's just like fucking feeding them bullshit. Like, oh yeah, you all survived a nuclear fucking Holocaust, and you literally just are arriving retarded, and we're giving you the skills to get back to life.
Yeah. Hey, retard.
Remember, what was it in Rick and Morty, the latest episode? So it was with the spaghetti, and like they were trying to like
suicide spaghetti.
Yeah, people who committed suicide, like their bodies turned into spaghetti or whatever, and it was like the most delicious spaghetti ever. So they tried cloning people, and then like they ended up shooting each other. Like they thought it was ripping off the island, and they're like, I can't do it anymore, and they just blow each other's brains out.
Yeah,
it's fucking hilarious.
But the last season got a little extreme.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I've watched it. Morty doesn't bother me as much. His voice was bothering me, though.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, at first it was like easy to notice, but if you keep watching the series like over and over, like it just kind of
it's not as bad.
Yeah, it kind of just like blends in, and like how sometimes like certain seasons, like I mean honestly, if you watch the first season, like the first episode for sure. Like the voice of Rick sounds a lot different than like what it matured into before Roiland got fired. I mean, like, and that's just life on a fucking TV show. Like you refine things as you keep going. Like if it makes it past the pilot, you change all the things that were critiqued on it. It's like, all right, we like it, but this is what what people would like to see come out of it or whatever, or and all this other shit. And I bet you, Rick's voice was like, you know what, we're on to something, but let's like do this or that to it. And then like Rick sounded more like, you know what I'm talking about? Like you watch that first episode and like Rick's, I don't want to call him more like a robot, but it's like the way he talks is like it's not as smooth as it is as in later episodes. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
it's going back to like OG Rick where he was drunker and very I get what you're saying though.
You know what I'm saying? Like that first episode of Rick and Morty, first season, like he's drunk and like
they're flying around and
yeah. And like the way he's talking, it's Rick, obviously, but like there's something weird about it because then you watch the later episodes and like it's just it's a smoother voice as it keeps going on. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But fuck, man, I don't know. I don't fucking know. But yeah, this Jimi Hendrix Morgan Freeman thing. This is a wild topic.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about it, but I definitely see the similarities. Definitely do. But like that's the other thing. Like too, it's like Jimi Hendrix. Like it like kind of makes sense. Like to like maybe this was a government thing. Like because like that was during a time too where the government was actually giving these drugs out to people, like LSD and all this shit.
Yeah,
and because they were testing the psychological warfare, like all like actually it's kind of funny, like it's connected, like the remote viewing and all that, because they used drugs to try to unlock different parts of the brain, and the CIA has actually disclosed that they did testing on the public and their own people without consent, and basically because of that, like there are stricter laws on experimenting on people. Like you can't just do it without asking for permission and shit like that. You know what I mean? But
just a real quick side note, kind of a weird thing. On this day, 1943, George Harrison was born in Liverpool, England. So he passed away when he was 58.
Wild.
He would have been 81 today. Fucking Beatles, man. I love the Beatles. Like, I love old school music, and I think a lot of that has to do with, like, my dad. Like, if you had a parent that was born in the 50s, you pretty much were guaranteed that, like, every Sunday morning, my dad would blast Breakfast with the Beatles. Like, to wake us up. Like, he loved the Beatles. I mean, and pretty much anything in that era, Led Zeppelin.
What's interesting, like, with my dad is, like, so he grew up in that era, too. But, like, he wasn't into the Beatles. He was more into, like, Zeppelin and, like, more, like, Clapton and, like, bluesy shit. In rock and roll. But like while growing up, he was like in this country phase. So that's like all he listened to. Like
really?
So that's like who I thought like of my dad was like he just like country music. But then when I went to college, all of a sudden he was going back to what his roots were, and I was starting to learn that, and I'm like, oh, this is some pretty awesome shit. But yeah, no, I mean he was like listening to like getting really big back into Zeppelin and shit, but then like he's the one that really turned me on to blues. And I've also learned that blues is like it's literally the foundation of all music. Not a lot of people realize that, but the blues rhythms and notes and scales and all that shit, those are used interchangeably in all of music. So like a lot of people say our modern music roots from blues, from the blues and the blues comes from the slave fields, the cotton fields of the South, and like they used to just do this like instinctively, like the way they would sing, and they would sing in these scales, and then this evolved into jazz and blues and whatnot, and eventually now rock and roll, rap, R&B, techno, disco, baby.
Rap, but
no, I would say rap.
Yeah,
no, rap definitely is gonna have those roots, but it's it's how it's used and
far derived, but was based.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went to a Bad Company. I went with my dad to see Bad Company, Grand Funk Railroad, and one other band was playing, and I can't think of the name of them. But
yeah,
Like my dad's sitting there, he's like, "Yeah, none of these guys are the original." it's like going to a Dead concert now, and it's like John Mayer's fucking singing. You know what I mean? Like for Bad Company, though, the lead singer was the same guy that was in what's that British band he was in before it? I can't think of it.
I feel like I should know this.
If you look at the singer from Bad Company. He was in
I'm looking right now.
I can't think of Paul Rogers, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And he was in another band, which is a very popular band beforehand.
The Yardbirds? No, I don't know.
No.
No, because I feel like everybody played in the fucking Yardbirds. There's Free, Bad Company, The Firm, The Law.
Free. That's who he was. Yeah.
Free.
They saying like, feel like making love. Feel like making.
Yeah.
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 That was
baby.
Yeah.
That's free. Free, baby.
Free falling.
No,
Tom
but
Petty.
like, so.
Love fucking Tom Petty.
I wanted to piggyback here on, what do you call it? The whole thing with Jimi Hendrix, like, just rebranding himself, whatever. So, I was looking up some other shit. And, like, there's, like, other people in history that, you know, people believe they faked their deaths or, like, they didn't die like they should have and had become different people. So, here's this story I found. Have you ever heard of D.B. Cooper? Like, it sounds familiar.
Rings
like,
a bell.
So, D.B. Cooper was this guy, apparently, like, he didn't, like, necessarily hijack the plane, but he told the stewardess that I got a bomb in this suitcase, and I want you to send a message to whoever, and this is what I want, you know, and nobody's going to get hurt. So he basically requested $200K in cash and then 4 parachutes. And so the flight was somewhere in Oregon going to Seattle. And so they land in Seattle. They get everybody off the plane except the crew that was working it, like the stewardesses and the captain and co-pilot. So there was a transfer. They gave the money in a suitcase, and then they also gave 4 parachutes. So then the guy tells the pilot to take off, and then they head towards Mexico, okay? Or New Mexico. Yeah, Mexico. The dude gets a parachute on, and he fucking jumps out of the plane. And nobody ever sees him ever again. Nobody knows what happened to him. They did a huge fucking search for him. They never found him. And, like, what's crazier is in 1980, some fucking kid found some kind of bag or something stuck in a tree. And it matched up to where this trajectory of this airplane would have been flying as well. And I guess it had a bunch of rotting cash, but it only had about $5,000 in there. And the serial numbers matched up to the serial numbers that the FBI handed over to the guy. So
isn't this in Loki?
Was it?
Loki? Yeah, I think Loki pretended to be this person. And that's
holy shit, you're right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Oh my god.
I was like, wait a second. I thought you were gonna refer it back to Loki at first.
No.
I didn't know that you didn't. You weren't.
That's probably why I thought it was familiar. No, this is an actual story. Like I was reading this off. I was reading this off the FBI's website actually. Yeah, there's just like they don't.
Yeah, this is a true story, but they linked it into Loki.
Oh, okay.
He was this guy.
That's right. Yeah, and he like jumps off like, "See you later, everybody." You know.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, I guess in 1980 they found a package of rotting $20 bills because that's how he asked for it too. He asked for it $200,000, all $20 bills, something like that. And they only found about like close to 6,000, but it was like 5,800 is what this website's saying, right? Or the FBI website's saying right now. But like, yeah, like the FBI has investigated many people. There's this guy Richard Floyd McCoy that they still to this day say is the favorable suspect, but they got nothing on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just don't know what happened to the guy. Like, there's no fucking remnants of him.
It's fucking Loki.
Yeah, right. But no, like, I mean, like, think about that though. Like, it's just like, think about like how fucking like it's just like, you know, you always hear these stories, like you see it in the movies, like guy holds up something, he gets what he wants, gets all this money, and they actually think they're gonna get away. And like to think that somebody actually gets away, you know, like
yeah,
how do you actually live your life after that? You know what I mean? Like it just seems like even you might get away, but you're eventually gonna fuck it up, and someone's gonna catch on. Like
I think it was a lot easier back in the day to get away with this kind of shit.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Now with like all this shit, like there's a camera everywhere. You know, it's not like you can like rob a bank and get away with it. Like look at that guy that. I mean, that shit happened like right down the street from me, where that guy like killed like 7 people and then drove down to Texas.
And like they knew who he was. Yeah,
he was found within the day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Or there's even that one like, and this was even a fucking kind of a spooky story with that one Navy guy that like went off the grid, and they like the FBI was after him and shit. And it's like, what did this guy know? Like, what secrets did this guy have? And they like, because the story was so vague about it. I wish I could remember what the whole story was, but it was like a Navy guy. He went like he went fucking AWOL, and like all of a sudden the FBI is looking for him, and they're like, he's a super dangerous person. Like there was like no backstory to why he was a super dangerous person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't think.
Was it like in 1992 or something?
No.
Okay. I just typed in Navy guy goes off grid FBI hunt, and then like there's like a History Channel thing, Ruby Ridge, Idaho incident and standoff.
No, I don't think that was it. I'd have to. They probably fucking made the case go away anyways, like so you don't remember it. But
all right.
Anyway,
yeah, it just keeps pulling up everything.
But
here, actually, let me try to do it here on the Tor browser, because that doesn't have the fucking blocks and shit.
You ever use DuckDuckGo?
Yeah, I mean that's the engine that pops up on the Tor browser.
Yeah, that's the not filtered.
Right, they don't. Yeah, it's supposed to be.
They're not bought out yet. They're not bought out by by big government.
But sometimes I use a Tor browser, and basically what that does is it doesn't you can't track a person's VPN when you use it. So it's like a free thing, and like this is like
that's how you get onto the dark web, right?
Exactly, yeah. But you got to know how to get on the dark web, and I have no fucking idea how to get on the dark web.
What if I want to buy a kidney so I can eat it?
Well, right, you gotta like know, like somebody, like you gotta know somebody, and they gotta like tell you, like, all right, you want the kidney? This is what you type in on the browser, and then you put your bid in, or you send your money through it or whatever. Like, it's weird because like
there's still a human interaction that has to be done.
I feel, well,
Like
you
there has to be
have
somebody
to,
that you talk to.
yeah, you still have to know somebody to even figure this out because, like,
So it's
so
like when you
here,
used to buy drugs before the internet
yeah.
from your dealer, and you had to know somebody that knew somebody that was a drug dealer
Well, right,
type
because you
thing.
can't like search for this. Like you can't, and like all these websites too, they're going to look like normal websites. Like they're not going to have like they're going to be like fake websites, and you're going to click. There's going to be something that you click on it that brings you to a portal or that brings you to another part. You know what I mean?
It's
Like
like buying a
honest,
wardrobe on Wayfair and getting a Chinese child.
well, it's like going to wayfair.com, but like you know that if you click on this one hyperlink that's like so hidden on the website that it then brings you to the market where you can buy the fucking children or something like that.
I got you.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
So
It's
it
like deep.
right, they'll be legitimate websites. You probably could access them through Google, but like again, you don't know how to get to them. But like if you're going to access it, you're not going to do it on a normal computer. You're going to use a VPN or something, so, or more or less a Tor browser, so you're not tracked. And then, yeah, Bitcoin, whatever, that's your payment. I don't know how they did it back in the day, before Bitcoin and all that shit. But like the Tor browser, I mean, apparently was created by the CIA. This was the tool they created, so they basically, what people say is the CIA created the Tor browser, and they created the online black market. But this was how they could oversee it, in other words, and navigate it. I don't know, but yeah, you use a Tor browser when you want to get to the dark web, because like your Google and all that, that's the surface web. All right, and like there's still a lot of information there, but that's just the surface of what's actually on the internet, and then you get deeper. So then like some of your other things are like your courthouses and like your governments, like you know, like how like if you want to get like certain records on things, you have to go to a courthouse and use their computer terminal. And you can print this stuff. It's all, don't get me wrong, it's all public access. Like you're able to just go to a courthouse and start looking at weird shit like real estate and whatnot. But you can't access it from anywhere else. You can't just sit from home and access, you know, the county courthouse. You have to actually go there because it's like a library, essentially. A courthouse is essentially a archives, if that makes sense. So,
Something like that.
yeah. And but yeah, as you get deeper, like then there is like the dark web, which is the bottom of everything. Like there's like a nice example online. It shows a fucking glacier. It's like a cutaway view, and it shows you the top of the glacier is Google and all that. And then it shows you right below the surface is like all your court systems and your government access, you know, which you have to go there to get. And then below that is the dark web. Yeah. Where like, yeah, you can buy kidneys, you can buy fucking people, whatever you want, it's fucking there. But again, you have to know, yeah, like you were asking, like you have to know somebody. Like you just can't search for this. Like you can't just be like, oh, you know what, I want to buy a fucking kidney. I'm just gonna go buy a fucking kidney. I'm gonna go pull the Tor browser. I'm gonna search how to buy a kidney. You know, it doesn't really work that way. It's more or less like you end up finding someone, you pay him some money to get this information, and then they tell you where you need to send the bulk of your money to get this done. You know, or how to access that and shit like that. So, but yeah,
I mean,
What do you got going on there?
I mean, a kidney's, $442,000 when you're just to get an organ transplant in the U.S.
Back in the day, you used to be able to buy that shit on eBay. People were putting, like, fucking organs on eBay. That's fucked up. They put a stop to that.
A heart transplant can be $1 million.
That's why insurance companies love when you're, like, not dead but not alive. Just that medium where you just need help all the time.
You can donate a kidney for $500,000. I might donate a fucking.
I don't think that's legal, dude. That's not legal.
I mean...
No, it's not legal. Like, I feel like the DMV would be like, hey, you can either give us your kidney now and we'll give you $500K, or we'll wait till you're dead and we'll just scrape it out of you. I don't know, dude. That's.
I mean, think of it though. Like, you're able to, like, somebody's on that short list of people that are just, like, about to die.
Like, who's paying
the kidney? Is
this sounds like dead. This, like, honestly sounds like Deadpool. Like, you're just gonna be thrown into a lab and just tortured, and, like, you're never getting $500K, and, like, your kidney never goes to anybody. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like
putting a finger up your butt all the time.
Like maybe if, like, the government's like, yeah, we're paying $500K so we can help people get up on top of the list or whatever. I don't know, dude. It's like, you inquiry on something like that and, like, you never do anything, and then you go to Vegas and then you wake up in a fucking tub with a bunch of ice around you. Yeah. Am I cutting out?
Just a little.
Oh, okay.
That's all
right. So what else we got going on here, man?
I don't know. You've got the main point of the night, I believe. With your
the skinwalkers.
Yeah, your skin.
You want to get
skinwalkers?
You want to get into the foreskin walkers?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So, I've always loved Native American culture. I always found it interesting how they look at the world, and they have a little bit of a mystic side to them, and it's hard to see if they actually are real magic or if it's just, the same thing as being a fucking Christian growing, 5 or 2,000 years ago, whatever. But, so what's interesting is I've been finding out about this thing called the skinwalker, okay? And I've heard it from many things. It's in a lot of sci-fi. I guess it's something that it's also a little convoluted too. So, it's, the sci-fi really, makes it into something that it's not, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's weird. So, a skinwalker is supposed to be this kind of, it's hard to explain because, I guess, in order to explain it, so, the Navajo have these people called medicine man, or the medicine man, okay? And these are people that go through, not the Michelin man, but the medicine man, okay? But, these people go through these extensive ceremonies and trainings, and their purpose is to be spiritual leaders and to be healers to their tribes, okay? So it's this thing where it's the same person you go for spiritual healing or spiritual guidance, you go to that same person if you fucking cut your arm or your hand or something. They're going to take care of you, or if you get sick and all that shit. So there's that. There's the medicine man, and that's the good side of things. But then there's this other side where and I guess it's the process of becoming a medicine man where it's you either become the medicine man or you go down the other path. and you become the skinwalker. And so the skinwalker also has these same abilities. They're a very spiritual person. They also have healing abilities, but they're evil. And like it's personally, dude, it's Star Wars. It's falling.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
No. Like that's where I'm kind of
dark side, like 100%.
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting at with it, because like there's been like I've seen like recently like they've translated Star Wars to Navajo, and all these Navajos in Navajo Nation were coming out to see this, and like the elders loved it, and we're basically walking away like, yeah, it's how it is, you know, like not like the lasers and lightsabers and all that shit, but the idea of the Force, the good and evil, and the dark side, the light side. They're like, that's exactly what it's like, and then like how everything's connected and and all that. So like the Navajo people really believe in like that whole Star Wars idea. Like that was episode 65. See episode 66 for part 2. Now available.